I am wearing white today, which is a symbol of peace and harmony the world over. Do remember that these prediction videos are just a little bit of fun and nothing that I ever say really ever comes true, unless of course it is the Euros predictions, which I got pretty much spot on, and League Two last season as well, but I feel like that was quite easy to call. Today I'll be running through my predictions from the non-leagues of Scotland all the way up to the top, and we'll also be looking at the cups as well. This morning, prior to filming this, I've run a poll on my Instagram. I've asked you guys questions on who you think is going to do well this season, so if you have answered my poll or my question today on my Instagram story, then your questions might be answered a little bit later on. So we'll be getting into that in a little bit more detail later on to see what your thoughts are on the season. But firstly, let's start with the non-leagues of Scotland. So starting with the East of Scotland League, look at the table right now. So there are some sort of bigger teams in it. Obviously Tranent got promoted to the Lowland League last season. There was no team from the West of Scotland League, which is probably the stronger league overall. Obviously, Tranent did beat Darvel. But looking at things, obviously, Vale of Leven got relegated from the Lowland League. I saw them play last season. Of course, they lost 13-0 against Bonnyrigg Rose when I saw them play. So they might have a better season out there, not in the Lowland League. But for me, I'm going with Linlithgow Rose. I think Linlithgow Rose have a fantastic setup, an amazing stadium, and a lovely town as well. Good area, they're near Edinburgh, so they can probably pick up players quite easily compared to someone like Vale of Leven who are in the borders. So for me, winners of the East of Scotland League are going to be Linlithgow Rose. Moving on to what I think is probably stronger than the Lowland League this season is the West of Scotland League. So we have some huge teams in this. Obviously the big four that did well last season, your Auchinleck Talbots, your Clydebanks, your Pollocks, and then sort of the newer money, I guess you could say, of Darvel. But for me, my money has to be on Darvel again this year. They missed out, like I mentioned earlier, on the playoffs last season, but they've strengthened really, really well. For instance, one of their signings, Ross Meakin, was at Forfar last season, and he's gone and signed for Darvel. So they're obviously a really, really ambitious club. They've got an ambitious manager, an ambitious owner, and I know he was on the pitch saying, we're going to get promoted last season. John Gould, the owner of Darvel, did it a little bit prematurely, of course. They still had to play Tranent, who obviously beat them in the end. So I do think that eventually we'll see Darvel in the Lowland League. Will it be this season? I'm not sure. Again, the playoffs are still quite restrictive. There's a lot of bottlenecks within the Scottish Pyramid system, which I've spoken about tons of times that I don't want to bore you with. But West of Scottish League champions this year, in my eyes, will be Darvel. Outside of the Premiership, is the Lowland League the most talked about league in Scotland these days? I feel like it is on Twitter. There's like so many conversations about it, and for better or for worse, you know, there's a lot to talk about in this league. The continuation, firstly, I guess we should probably touch on, of Celtic and Rangers. They both did really well last season. I think second and third they finished, behind, of course, Bonnyrigg Rose, who are champions, who go up to League Two. The inclusion of Hearts as well. Hearts B team are now in the Lowland League. I know a lot of fans aren't too happy with how it's sort of gone in the terms of sort of the B teams. Obviously it was supposed to be for a year only. I sort of knew when that news came out it wasn't just going to be for a year that Celtic and Rangers were in it, and that's been proven. They continue to be in it this season, and Hearts of course have been added to it as well. Will we see maybe Hibs and other teams get added to it in years to come? Who knows? Next up that we should probably talk about in this league is Open Goal Broom Hill. YouTube royalty. The Open Goal boys have obviously invested heavily into Broom Hill. I still don't really know how it works, to be honest. Cy Ferry's obviously the manager, but do they own a part of the club? I'm not really sure. The club's completely changed name as well. I thought that was just sort of a marketing ploy when they sort of came in, but no, the club are now officially called Open Goal Broom Hill, as you can sort of see from their badge and in the league table there as well. They've signed Kirk Broadfoot from Inverness Caledonian Thistle. So he was playing in the Championship last season, and now he plays in the Lowland League for Open Goal Broom Hill. Again, that sort of shows the pull that they have. Slaney's returned to playing, and you know, the sponsorships and opportunities that they're going to get this season are probably opportunities and sponsorships that a Lowland League team has never even seen before. So they have got a huge advantage there, which could play really well into their hands, of course. Cowden Beef, obviously, they came down. They'll be playing their first non-league season there as well. Tranent, we spoke about them. They've come up. East Kilbride, the biggest town, I think, in Scotland without an SPFL club. That is until now. I think East Kilbride are finally going to put their Lowland League history to the side and finally get promoted to League Two. Yeah, I do think that finally this year East Kilbride will do it. Last season, they were playing in the League Cup, this early sort of League Cup round, because of how well they did the season before. And I think that hindered them. I think they had too much going on at the start of the season, but they ended up doing well towards the end of the season. So I think this year, with full focus on the Lowland League, East Kilbride, they're going to win it, and I think they're going to go up as well. You would have heard me talk about Fanbase a lot over the last couple of years. They are doing incredible work, not just for you, the fans, in helping you get to games, but also for the clubs themselves. Clubs really need to digitalise their stadiums in these modern worlds, and that's what Fanbase are helping them to do. It also helps the clubs to plan for match days. When they know how many people are going to come to games through the amount of tickets bought on something like Fanbase, they can plan how many stewards need to be there, caterers, all that kind of thing. The stuff that you really don't think about goes running into a football club. These clubs really need to focus on for match days, and Fanbase really help them with that. And they can help you as well, the fan. So do make sure you buy tickets through Fanbase. They're an incredible, reputable company, really helping to improve Scottish football. Back to the predictions. Right, there's a new team in the Highland League this year. I think the whole Fort William thing has been put to one side. I think they are going to actually get relegated now by the looks of things, and it has been a controversial issue. And you can watch my Fort William video, just search Fort William Footy Adventures, and you'll be able to find that. But Banks OD have taken their place. Banks OD are a really successful team. They have won tons of league titles in the past few years, and as I've touched on numerous times, there hasn't always been promotion and relegation, so they've always sort of stayed where they are, just being champions, right? But just look at some of their cup results. They beat Linlithgow Rose of the East of Scotland League, who, again, I'm tipping to do well this season. And they beat Tariff United of the Highland League. They were below Tariff United in the pyramid when they beat them. They then beat Nairn 5-0, who were in the Highland League as well. Again, they were below Nairn at that point. Then they got to the third round and they beat East Fife 2-1. And then they lost 3-0 against Rafe, who were a championship team. So they got to the fourth round of the cup, pretty much convincingly beating everyone that was sort of put in their way, including East Fife, who were a League One team, I want to say, at that point. So Banks OD have got a really good chance in the Highland League this season. Fraserburgh and Bucky, who finished first and second last season, they are going to be impacted by the League Cup, I believe. You know, they are playing games right now when the other Highland League teams are just preparing and still in their pre-season, whereas they're already playing competitive games. So I feel like that could probably hinder them a little bit. You also can't discount Brecon and Brora, but for me, it's Banks OD. How often have we seen it in Scotland where teams... Cove are a great example of getting promoted. We've seen it with Kelty, promoted. You'll see a few back-to-back promotions, and for me, I think Banks OD will do it again. They're a really successful team who we've seen from the cup results have had big results against bigger teams than them. And so for me, yeah, Banks OD, they're going to win the Highland League this season. On to the SPFL. For me, League Two was the easiest to predict last season. I think it was simple to see that Kelty were going to win League Two. But this season, looking at the league, it's sort of not as easy to predict this year. Forfar did well last season. Dumbarton and East Fife came down. Bonnyrigg obviously came up. We just spoke there about some back-to-back promotions that we're sort of used to seeing in Scotland with well sort of run and well invested in teams. I'm not sure if Bonnyrigg are going to bounce up straight away again like Kelty did. I think the league's a little bit too strong, and I don't think they're quite as strong as Kelty were when they came up. But for me, it has to be former champions of Scotland, Dumbarton. They're a little bit of a yo-yo club in sort of League Two and League One, aren't they, Dumbarton? I've seen them play a few times, but I can see them doing well. They're a well-run, well-established club in the Scottish League system. They were the first ever champions of Scotland the first 2 years. They shared the first one with Rangers. They won the second one outright. They have fantastic history, fantastic heritage, and I think they'll win League Two this season and bounce straight back up to League One. Speaking of League One, there are some massive teams in that league this year, so it's going to be a really interesting one. Obviously, Dunfermline and Queen of the South went down. I think they'll both be strong. I can't see them really stagnating in these leagues for too long. I can see them both doing quite well still to get up. Dunfermline are obviously a big side as they are. Queen of the South, I think, have strengthened. Kelty and Edinburgh have both come up from League Two. Falkirk are a big side in there who have stagnated in that league for a number of years now, and they're going to need to get back up soon because they are a big club who, in my eyes, probably deserve to be at least second tier. Airdrie had a great year last year as well, so yeah, this one is so hard to call. I said Falkirk would do it last year. One day it's got to come true, so I reckon Falkirk, if I keep saying it enough, they will eventually win the league. So this year, and they have actually had some really good League Cup results as well. They beat Hibs yesterday or the day before from when I'm filming this. So they have had some really good results already in the League Cup. So Falkirk, saying they're going to win the league. I think relegation is a little bit harder to call than everything else. So I've just sort of gone with the league champions and who I think are going to do well at the top of the table. I think that's what most of you guys are sort of interested in anyway, is seeing who's going to be champions and stuff. So let's look at the championship. I think it was a bit of a freak season last season, wasn't it, with Arbroath? I'm not 100% sure they're going to do as well this year. They had a few draws towards the end of last season where if they'd have turned a couple of them into wins, then you know, they would have been up. And I was at their game against Kelty, where Kelty won the league. That was the decider, wasn't it? And it was a fantastic occasion, don't get me wrong, but they went 1-0 up and then just couldn't hold on in the end. Kelty won and Arbroath fell away. And I think it's going to be hard for them to push again next season and do the same. And again, this is a really, really tough league to call this year. Queen's Park have come up. They're super ambitious since finally going professional. Their first 150 odd years or whatever of being a club, they weren't paying their players. They were completely amateur, even when they were in the leagues. But with the pyramid system being open now, I think they know that if they were to continue to do that, they would just drop down. So they are a club that pays players now and buys players with transfer fees. There's going to be a Glasgow derby next season with them and Thistle. So I think that they could both do really, really well. Glasgow clubs, obviously, good catchment area for them. Dundee obviously went down. They're going to be a bit of a yo-yo club, I think, over the next 5 to 10 years, keep coming up and going down. Inverness Cali Thistle missed out on the playoff against St Johnstone that I was at. I think they were unfortunate to lose that 4-0. I think they lost a couple of goals at the end when they were like really pushing forward. So I don't think the score of 4-0 really was warranted. But for me, Inverness Caledonian Thistle, they're a young squad, they're a year on. I would love to see them win it. They're a really, really cool club. They did really well last season. Like I say, they finished up there. They just missed out on the playoffs against St Johnstone, who are a well-established club, who I don't think should have been as low as they were. So for me, I think Inverness Caledonian Thistle are going to go one further this year and win the championship. Before we get into the segment that I'm sure all of you have skipped to, the Premiership segment, I'm going to run through the Instagram answers right now. So we're going to go through a few of them. There's been a lot, so I'm apologising to the guys that I obviously can't include. So on screen right now, right, Rangers first, Dunfermline League One champions. Yeah, to be honest, if it wasn't Falkirk, I'd probably have to say Dunfermline for me. Bonnyrigg rose to win Division 2, Hibs to finish back in 3rd, Derek McInnes to take Kilmarnock back to Europe and a cup final. Wow, that'd be great for Kelty. Celtic, Inverness, Dunfermline. Okay, yeah, that's the same. So Celtic, Inverness, Dunfermline, Bonnyrigg. They think are gonna win the leagues. Hearts are winning the league. Celtic first, Rangers second, Hearts third, Hibs fourth. Moving on, so Motherwell relegated. Someone saying here, Jordan, Rangers top again, Hearts third. A manager will get sacked there. Dazza, yeah, I think that's obviously going to be the case. Rangers 56. Champions Rangers, 2nd to 4th, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, relegated Livingston. Someone here saying, George is saying, mix of Gio's evolving tactics and his own signings. We'll see 56 delivered on the final day. Wow, what a day that would be, I guess, for Rangers fans. Hearts are in the title race at Christmas and play knockout football in Europe. Ooh, I'm not sure if Hearts will do that great this season with Europe, but we'll be getting on to my predictions just shortly. Kelty top 6. County haven't done much to replace Charles Cook, so I think they'll drop to 11th, maybe drop to 11th there, Lucas meant. Yeah, I think so as well. I think Ross County will probably struggle this year. Stupid conspiracies around VAR. I think that is very true. Moving on here, Hibs will finish higher than 9th, but I don't see them coming higher than 6th. Inverness Caledonian Thistle get promoted. Monacali, yep, I think Cali Thistle will do well as well there. Dundee United will come 4th. Celtic to go down, Rangers to win the league and Europa League. Put a tenner on that if you're brave enough. St Mirren 12th. So a lot of them are obviously going to be Celtic and Rangers related, but good to see some of your answers there. Thank you so much to everybody who has answered the questions on my Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. It's always linked in the description box below, footy.adventures. Moving on to the Premiership. So I firstly want to touch on Hearts. They had an incredible year last year. The season before, obviously, they were in the Championship. The season before that, they were relegated due to the controversy around COVID and the points per game thing. But they did that whole trophy lift with the Championship with no fans that they obviously didn't think they should have been in anyway. It was a controversial one. They got back to the Premiership and they did really, really well in their first season back. Of course, they got to the Scottish Cup final that I was at and they came 3rd, securing Europa League group stage football. Now, I think Hearts are in a bit of a conundrum here. Do they invest in the squad and try and go far in Europe, get through the groups and maybe do something in the league as well? Or do they like save that money, know that this season they might get knocked out of Europe in the group stage and might not have a great league campaign because of Europe? How often have we seen it? We saw it with Rangers last year. Their league form suffered because of Europe. I think the same could happen with Hearts, but they might try and keep some of the money from Europe and spend it on the squad in the next season maybe. That's kind of what I can see happening. Sorry Hearts fans, I know I've got a lot of you watching. I do love your club, but I just think they're in a bit of a conundrum this year. Do you spend the money this year or do you kind of try and save it with the club? It's going to be a tough one, I think. Relegation is a tough one to call. Kelty are back in the league, but I think they'll be strong. Again, as when I read out some of the answers just then, a few people saying Ross County, St Mirren not to do quite well. I think St Mirren will do all right. I think Livingston, they might struggle this year, but I think, yeah, Ross County losing obviously the top scorer in the league. Regan Charles Cook, he's gone to Belgium. I just can't see how without him they're going to be as good next season. Again, maybe a little bit of an Arbroath for them. I don't think it really signifies how maybe good they are compared to the rest of the teams. They had one great player last season, of course. So I'm sorry, Ross County fans, I can see you sort of slipping down there. And then we need to sort of talk about Rangers and Celtic, don't we? I made a couple of videos, transfer videos, where I asked the fans a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, things were still early days then. Rangers hadn't signed anyone. Celtic had sort of tied a few people down. But since Rangers have made their last few signings, I think that brings them back into contention with Celtic for the league. And it's easy to say the league winner of last season, isn't it? To say that they're going to win the league again. And Rangers won it so convincingly the season before that when I did this video for last season, I said Rangers will win the league again. And that sort of went tits up for them. And Celtic did really well. But at the time, it looked like Celtic were going to do really badly. They were on the back of a terrible campaign. They'd barely signed anyone. They got this new manager in that not many people had heard of before. But they ended up doing really, really well. So I think whoever you pick this year, it's literally going to be a coin toss. So saying that, let's grab a coin. Here we go. We've got a quid. We've got a quid here. Right, so that is heads there. I'm going to go heads because Rangers like the queen. I'm going to go heads there. I'll put tails top because Celtic won the league last year. Heads is for Rangers, tails is for Celtic. Here we go. It's tails. That is tails. So I have to say my prediction is for Celtic to win the league again. The coin has spoken. I do apologise, Rangers fans, but you can't go against the coin. Just finally, the cups. I mean, you'd be stupid to not look at Celtic and Rangers for the cups. I mean, it's such a dominant league for them too, and it like the whole pyramid system is just made for Celtic and Rangers to be successful, I suppose. So you'd be an idiot not to say that they'd probably be in the finals of the cups and they'd probably win them. But as an outside choice, just to sort of tantalise the thought of somebody else winning one of the cups, I'm going to say Aberdeen. Aberdeen haven't won anything since 2014, the League Cup, and before that you'd have to look a long time ago for them to have won anything as well. I think they're a bit of a sleeping giant within Scotland. I do find it a real shame that they haven't won more. Obviously Hibs and Hearts have won a few things in recent years as well, and for me it'd be great to see obviously St Johnstone have won cups as well, as we know. So I think, yeah, for me, I would love to see Aberdeen win a cup this year if it's not sort of one of the big two. A massive thanks for watching. Again, these are just predictions. Nothing I say ever really comes true anyway. Please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe if you're new as well. I'll leave some videos on screen. Please click on one to carry on watching. I can't wait to add more videos for next season. I can't wait for the season to start up here in Scotland. Cheers for watching, guys. Really appreciate the support. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.